Am I the a-hole for sending the police to my stepsister's wedding? I, female 32, lost my mom when I was 23. It was by far the most traumatic loss I had experienced. I just couldn't and didn't want to accept her death. It was unfair, untimely, and preventable. I got in therapy and was doing better, but I had issues with my dad's new wife and her daughter who's 25 and just got married weeks ago. We do not have a close relationship, but we were cordial enough to sit at dinner tables. My stepsister treats me as a relative and was as much distant from me. But after my father got sick, we had to see each other a lot. I'm handling his care while stepmom works full-time and stepsister doesn't do much, though she's always visiting when I moved in to help my dad. Before that, I was living with my ex, so returning home was just in time. I brought with me all of my mom's belongings, and my stepsister showed interest in my mom's necklace and asked if she could borrow it to wear it at her wedding. I refused, and she tried every method to convince me, so I had to put it in a place where I thought it'd be safe after my stepmother got involved. As the wedding approached, they both kept convincing me to let my stepsister have it. She bragged about affording a better one, but it was a matter of showing who's in control. I stood my ground and told them how serious I was, so they backed off. I didn't attend the wedding to stay with my dad. I remember wanting to change where I was hiding the necklace while the house was empty, but I found it was gone. After searching for hours, I called my stepmom, and she said not to worry as my stepsister took it and will return it when the wedding is over. But it was clear that I won't see it till after the honeymoon, since she said her daughter was staying at a hotel. I screamed at her to return it, but she argued about not wanting to leave the guests, and the wedding already started. I told her I'd get it myself, but she forbid me from coming, saying she'd have to keep me out of wanting to make a scene. So, I called the police and explained to them what was happening. I informed them my stepsister intended to leave for her honeymoon with my property. The police were sent to where the wedding was being held, and they were able to retrieve the necklace from my stepsister. She and my stepmom were in shock and livid. She, stepmom, returned home and kept shouting at me, calling me petty and crazy to send the police to my stepsister's wedding, ruining it and humiliating them over a piece of jewelry. She was screaming at my sick dad, telling him to handle me after the stunt that I pulled at the wedding. I defended myself, saying I only wanted an item that belonged to me, that they took without permission, returned. She argued further that I could have waited to get it back, but I chose to burn the bridge with my stepsister and said that she considers me dead after this. She said stuff I can't mention here, but all I can say it was a bad night. I might have overreacted by getting the police involved, but I had no guarantee of getting the necklace back since I have experience with them in the past. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Don't want the police at your wedding? Don't steal your stepsister's necklace and then brag about it. Seems easy enough to me. OP, your stepfamily is a pit of a-holes. May I suggest a safety deposit box at a bank for your precious items? I just said the same thing. How stupid can stepsister be to steal something, make it known she stole it, then not expect to be held accountable for theft? Yes. But also, am I the only one wondering how awesome this necklace must be to risk it? I'm expecting a sapphire diamond collar of at least 2 inches. Not the a-hole. They took your late mother's property and tried to flip it on you like you burned the bridge? Get out of here with that mess. You are not the a-hole in any way, shape, or form. Good riddance. Hopefully they never bother you again. Put all your mother's things in a safe, safety deposit box, or a storage unit. I admit that I'm the type that makes hasty decisions when angry. I was angry in that moment. I had a terrible feeling and let my anger control the situation. I won't lie to regret getting the police involved, but all they did was just retrieve the item. She says you are dead to her after this? Well, she should be dead to you. She was in the wrong. They both were wrong. You don't want the respect of people like that because their respect would make you wonder if you are turning out like them. Yeah, I don't have her on my social media, but my number was blocked by her. My stepmom kept saying that she was going to make sure the items returned, but telling me no when I wanted to come take it back myself made me lose my patience. OP, check your father's will ASAP and see if you can get some control over his affairs. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for having a family dinner after my sister's wedding? My sister Jess, 30 female, got married on Saturday morning. I, 26 female, did not attend for a multitude of reasons, but primarily because I don't care for her fiancé Jay and we don't get along. So I figured I would skip to allow for them to have a happy time without me being a Debbie Downer and raining on their parade. Due to the wedding, several family members were in town, some that I hadn't seen for quite a few years and may not get to see again before they get too old or pass away, as they are older or live out of the country. Since I didn't go to the wedding, I figured that I would host a family dinner later in the evening from the wedding, as most family members are scheduled to leave on Sunday or Monday and everyone would be split up. The wedding began at 11 a.m., and the dinner was scheduled to begin at 5 p.m. I do live about an hour from the venue, so I knew most people would be on the road by 4 p.m. But I figured that seeing as the wedding started at 11, 5 hours would be plenty of time for everyone to visit and mingle with Jess at the actual wedding. At around 4:30, Jess called me, completely irate, yelling, swearing, and just generally saying harsh things about how I'd stolen her guests and ruined her day in multiple ways, especially since I didn't invite her and Jay to the dinner. Again, the fiancé that I don't get along with. I didn't beg anyone to come to the dinner, nor did I pressure anyone and left it open to them all about whether or not they wanted to come, which most of them did. I thought this was a fine compromise since it would decrease the tension of everyone involved and make for smoother sailing. But Jess sent me an incredibly nasty message and has blocked me from her Instagram and Facebook. I'm unsure if whether or not she blocked my phone number or if she's just not responding. I didn't think the dinner idea was so terrible, but my boyfriend feels like it was an a-hole move and that I should try to apologize to her, but I need more perspectives. So, am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. That is a prick move to have a dinner the same night as her wedding without running it past her first. Also, who has dinner at 5 p.m. other than 4-year-olds? Allow for them to have a happy time without me being a Debbie Downer and raining on their parade. No, you didn't rain on their parade. You straight up stole it. You couldn't manage to get over yourself and put a smile on for a few hours to be at your sister's wedding. And if that's not bad enough, you straight up stole her guests from the reception and you don't think you're the a-hole. You're sorely mistaken. This is absolutely awful, and you should be ashamed of yourself for ruining your sister's wedding. You're the a-hole. I don't like my sister's husband for legitimate reasons, but I still went to their wedding because she's my sister. Refusing to go and then having all our family round for food would have been so rude. You're the a-hole. I'm having a hard time believing that you didn't do this on purpose to spite them. You took a chunk of their big day. Couldn't you at least have waited until the next day for your dinner? She 100% did it on purpose. Even her boyfriend called her out, but she needs more perspectives to apologize. A-hole move. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not inviting my dad and his mistress to my wedding? I am getting married soon and I have not invited my father or his mistress. They cheated on my mother and essentially screwed her over. I want nothing to do with that person I sadly have to call human and a father. He spent my goddamn college fund, which was almost 80% of my mother's money, on his mistress, and has only called me for money despite having a bunch of his own, knowing we're barely surviving, just so he could belittle us. He has always expected things in life without doing the heavy work, and my grandmother encourages it, which is why he grew up to be a deadbeat father and entitled. I got a phone call from him expecting a wedding invitation. I laughed and said no, then hung up. Less than an hour later, my grandmother called to cheer me out and said I was being an ungrateful and spiteful brat. I almost choked on the food I was eating when hearing this. I can agree it was spiteful to laugh at him, but he laughed at me for years and nobody cared. But when I laughed at him one time, they acted like I murdered someone or something? Now, my dad's family's on my case about being rude. I wanted to know if I was being spiteful or ungrateful. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. And I'd cut that grandma loose right along with him. Also not the a-hole. Ungrateful for what? Being treated like crap? If so, then yes, you are ungrateful for that. They can all stay home. Not the a-hole. He spent your college fund on his mistress? I literally haven't met this guy, yet I hate his guts. To hell with it. Screw that guy. He doesn't deserve to go to your wedding. Exactly. I'd be like, not only did you spend the money you put aside for my college on your mistress, you also spent the money my mother also put aside for college on your mistress, you freaking bottom feeder. Get screwed. And block grandma too. The a-hole apple didn't fall very far from the a-hole tree. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your wedding, your guests. You're not obligated to extend an invitation to anyone you don't want there. It doesn't even matter if the person in question is family, friend, niece, or in this case, an a-hole. You don't want them there? Done. No invitation. That is all. Not the a-hole. Start hanging up on your toxic grandma too. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for inviting my whole family to my wedding because of my cousin's joke? Joke is in quotes because I don't know what to call it. Something my cousin said is dividing my family. My partner, 22 female and I, 24 male, are getting married in 6 weeks. She's Eastern European and I'm from Spain, where we live. We're having a small wedding with less than 15 people invited. Just our families and one close friend. This is partially because of COVID, but mostly because we prefer it that way. Last week I was spending time with my family, and my cousin, 25 male, starts to talk to me about the wedding. He says congratulations, but he says it with a smirk on his face, and it sounds like he is taking the piss. I tell him thank you, but ask what is so funny. He's asked me literally, how much did she cost? Well, my jaw basically hit the floor. I ask him what is he talking about. It makes it even worse. He says, I'm thinking of getting a Slavic girl myself. I was so shocked I couldn't find any words. I just started muttering, I'm leaving, over and over again as I put on my shoes to leave. I don't remember any of the words he said to me after that. My family has made some distasteful jokes about my inter-ethnic relationship before, but never jokes about trafficking before. When he said that, it made me furious. It didn't sound like he was joking. Even if he was, I feel that it crossed a line. I didn't know how I was going to tell my partner, but I knew that I wasn't going to allow my cousin in the same room as her anymore. After driving for 90 minutes to get home, I had enough time to think about it. I called my cousin and told him he is no longer invited to the wedding. The next day, I got spammed with calls, texts, and voice messages from my parents, uncle, and sister telling me that I'm overreacting over a joke and causing divide in the family. So I told them all that they're also uninvited. My parents are not contributing to the cost of the wedding. They gave us €1,000 for an engagement gift, but after being uninvited, they demanded it back. Even though I feel that you shouldn't be allowed to take back a gift, I gave it back to avoid drama and to tell them that we don't need their money. I don't think I'm overreacting because it's not fair to my partner to have people there on her big day who think that way about her. Even though my family make half of our total guests, I don't want anybody there who feels that way. I'm okay with having none of them there. Am I overreacting / am I the a-hole? Edit. It looks like there is some confusion. I didn't uninvite the rest of my family just because he said the joke. I did that because they were defending the joke and saying he shouldn't lose his invites because of it. Not the a-hole. They crossed a line and disrespected your wife. They don't need to be there. They didn't just disrespect his to-be wife. They disrespected Opie. It says a lot about them that they think that lowly of him. They also disrespected victims of actual human trafficking by making their situations the butt of an unfunny joke. Not the a-hole. Your wife is about to become your most important family. Your chosen legal family. Her over everything. Hell, even if they were in a domestic partnership or dating, this would still be unacceptable. Not the a-hole. The comments your cousin and family make about her is very disrespectful. You're not overreacting at all, and if they can't see or understand that what they are saying is not okay, then they don't need to be there. If things were the other way around, I'm sure they would be upset if things like that were said to them. Super not the a-hole. It may not mean much to you, but I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself and your future wife this way. Anyone who thinks this is some joke does not have a real place in your life. And apparently this is not even a one-time thing, just a horrifyingly egregious example. Some soul-searching and heartfelt apologies are in order on their side. Date. I, 28 male, want a divorce from my wife, 27 female, but everyone wants me to forgive her. Original post. My wife and I have been married for 3 years. First, let me say that as far as I know, my wife hasn't been struggling with any issues. And we've known each other since grade school. We literally know everything about each other and our families. About 2 months ago, I came home and found my wife and our 6-month-old daughter on a couch. My wife was asleep, and my daughter was lying next to her. The moment I went over to greet them, I could smell that my daughter needed a diaper change. I didn't know how long it had been since her last change, but I didn't want to disturb my wife. She never naps during the day, so if she was asleep, I figured she must have had an especially hectic and exhausting day. I took our daughter to her room and placed her on a changing table to change her diaper. I was just getting started when, not even 2 minutes later, my wife came into the room. As I greeted her, she looked at me, then down at our daughter on the changing table, and suddenly flew into a rage. She started yelling and physically attacking me. I was completely stunned and didn't know what was happening. Instinctively, I leaned over our daughter to shield her from the blows. My wife was screaming and hitting me, shouting, "How could you?" over and over again, calling me a monster. I was in shock and had no idea what she was talking about. Everything had been perfectly normal that morning when I left for work. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and there had been no signs of any problems. She then ran out of the room, and about 5 minutes later, 3 police officers showed up and placed me in handcuffs while my wife was in hysterics, claiming she had caught me sexually assaulting our daughter. I was completely speechless and couldn't comprehend what was happening. I asked her what she was talking about, but all she kept saying was that she saw me doing it. I was arrested and spent the night in custody. Fortunately, I was released the next day when the police reviewed a camera footage from our daughter's room. The footage clearly showed that I was only changing her diaper and that nothing inappropriate had happened. There was no evidence to support my wife's accusations, and it was evident that she had attacked me without any provocation. After being released, I felt numb. I couldn't believe that my wife would even think I was capable of doing something so horrific, let alone accuse me of it in front of the police. The moment those words came out of her mouth, it was like all the love I had for her just evaporated. Since then, I have felt nothing but an emptiness inside, a void where my feelings for her used to be. I had divorce papers served to her a week ago, and since then, my phone has been blowing up with calls and texts from her, apologizing repeatedly. But honestly, I don't care about her apologies. In over 374 messages, she hasn't given me a single explanation for what happened, or why she thought I would harm our daughter. All she says is sorry and that we should try marriage counseling or individual therapy. I don't want counseling. She can go if she wants, but I won't be involved. I am also pursuing full custody of our daughter. My lawyer has informed me that given the circumstances, including my wife's violent outburst which was caught on camera, the fact that I had to shield our daughter from her, and the false accusations she made against me, there is a good chance I will be awarded full custody. Her behavior raises serious concerns about her mental state, and I want to ensure my daughter is in a safe environment. Despite everything that happened, my family, her family, and even some of our friends are insisting that I'm taking things too far by seeking a divorce and aiming for full custody. They say I should give her another chance, but nobody can explain why she did what she did or offer any justification for her actions. Even my wife hasn't been able to provide a reason in all her messages. I feel worn down as the gravity of everything starts to hit me. I'm mentally and emotionally exhausted from dealing with the fallout, and I'm questioning whether I'm missing something. Why is everyone on her side? What could have driven her to make such a horrific accusation without any evidence? I'm at a loss and I don't know what to do anymore. If anyone has any advice or insight, I'd really appreciate it. What am I missing here? Now for the top advice before reading the update. You do not need to stay in this relationship no matter what caused her to snap. She physically attacked you, she called the police, and said you assaulted your own daughter. If you feel divorce is the best option and have mentally checked out, it is the best option. Honestly, at the moment, I'm thinking that something is wrong with me. I don't see myself ever getting past this. What about the next time I'm alone in a room with my daughter, playing with her or anything? Divorce is the only option for me, as I will not be in a relationship that I have to constantly look over my shoulder, especially if I did nothing wrong. If anything, you're missing something really significant. If you hadn't had cameras in the room to prove your innocence, you'd be in jail right now, awaiting trial for one of the most horrible crimes imaginable. Your wife would be divorcing you, and your life would be utterly destroyed. You'd likely never see your daughter again, you'd be unemployable, and you'd be shunned by both family and friends. I'm not usually one of those dump her Reddit folks, but in this situation, you don't have any other option in my opinion. There's no coming back from a false SA accusation. There's no apology she can offer that could ever make things right. Hire the best attorney you can afford, and scorch the earth. If your family or friends don't agree, forget them. They don't matter. I guarantee that if there was no cameras, they would have been on your wife's side. If you feel you need to divorce, then you do what you need to do. It's a hard situation and will be difficult, especially with the legalities around it all. But staying is not going to do you any good. That is a given, but I can't understand if I'm missing something. Especially my friend that know the full story and still taking her side, saying divorce is a step too far. I feel like I'm missing something that I'm not seeing. Was I wrong to change my daughter's diaper? Should I have woken up my wife to do it? Should I just have left her like that? Now for the update a month later. Quick update as life has been hectic lately, especially with everything going on. The divorce is currently in progress. My daughter is in my custody and my lawyer has assured me that it's almost certain I will be granted full custody. Given the circumstances, my soon-to-be ex-wife will likely only be allowed supervised visits with our daughter. As for what actually happened, it turns out that my wife had a dream, and when she walked into the room and saw me changing our daughter, she somehow confused the dream with reality. In her mind, what she had dreamed seemed real, and that's what led her to accuse me of something so horrific. It's difficult to wrap my head around how a dream could cause such a drastic reaction. But that's the explanation I've been given. I'm still processing everything and it's been a whirlwind of emotions. Between dealing with legal matters, caring for my daughter, and trying to understand how things got to this point, life has been anything but calm. I'll provide a full update when I have more time, but for now, that's where things stand. I am sorry your family is ruined, but you are doing the right thing. You need to protect yourself and your daughter. I don't think mentally healthy people act like that because of the dream they had. She was awake long enough to call the cops and to give them statements. If it was hallucinations, psychosis, delusions, she is most likely paranoid schizophrenic. What if her next dream will be that your house is contaminated with some lethal poison and she has to burn it? Or you or your baby are demons and she has to unalive you? You are not in prison and not on a certain list by pure luck. Your life is not ruined by pure luck. Next time, you might not be so lucky. She needs professional mental health evaluation and lifelong mental health help. Getting yourself and your baby out of that situation was absolutely the right decision and should have been your top priority. You did a correct thing. That said, I think a lot of people on the forum are dismissing your soon-to-be ex-wife's reaction as simply something unreasonable and stupid that she had full control over. I'd like to point out that this may not necessarily be the case. For example, if she wasn't getting enough sleep or wasn't sleeping for long enough periods, example getting up every 3 hours all night to tend to the baby without napping during the day, sleep deprivation could be a factor. Sleep deprivation is no joke. It can cause hallucinations, paranoia, delusions, disorientation, irritability, violent outbursts, and severely impair one's judgment among other things. And that's assuming there weren't any other underlying issues, such as postpartum depression, PPD, or pre-existing trauma. Personally, I'd want to understand whether her behavior was truly within her control or if there was contributing factors before proceeding directly to divorce. Next story. My male 33 wife, female 34, grieves over a child I never told or agreed we'd have. How to move forward. My wife, female 34, and I, male 33, have been married for 7 years and together for 10. Back then, we didn't discuss children in detail, except to say that she wanted 1 or 2 at some point. And I agreed. 1, maybe 2 at most. 4 years ago, we had our first child, male 4, and 2 years later, our second child, male 2, was born. After the first, I already felt it was challenging enough. But I agreed to have a second child, reasoning that having a sibling would be good for our first. For me, that was it. I didn't want any more children. And I thought my wife felt the same. We didn't really discuss it further after that. Now that our second has turned 2, my wife wants to try for a third child. She says she wants a big family now. I'm not on board with this. I never wanted that. I told her how I felt and stood my ground. There's been a lot of crying on both sides, and we've each given our arguments, but we're both convinced we're right. There's no way to compromise on this issue. You can't have half a baby. My wife has been having periods of intense sadness, sometimes crying for entire days. On those days, she can't even look at me. Other times, it seems like she has come to terms with it and life goes on. We have 2 small children to take care of, and life is busy. On those days, I think we'll be okay. But then another wave of grief hits, and it feels like she's mourning the idea of a baby I never agreed to have. I'm not sure how I can help the situation further because to me, there are only 2 possible outcomes. She comes to terms with having 2 children, or we end up breaking up because she wants to find someone else who is willing to have a third child with her. Is there a third option that I'm not seeing? I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And I've even started telling people who visit not to bring up innocent questions like, when's the third one coming? In order to avoid triggering another emotional episode. If anyone has experienced a similar situation and found a way through it, I'd appreciate hearing your stories. Any small details or advice that could help her or me would be welcome. Have you asked your wife why she wants another baby? Is it just about the idea of having a large family? Or is it that she wants a girl? I think that's worth unpacking. Not that it will solve your issue, of course, but it might help you understand what she feels is missing from your family at present that another baby might add. She says now it's the big family. Although yes, she did hope for our second to be a girl. Not sure if that still plays, and she's ashamed to say it. As you mentioned, it doesn't solve or change the situation though. So I stopped pondering about that. Marriage counseling and possibly individual therapy for your wife, not because there's anything wrong with her. It's absolutely reasonable for her to discover along the road of having 2 children that she wants 3, and it's absolutely reasonable for you who only wanted 1 and possibly 2 to realize that you don't want any more children. But she is grieving a genuine emotional loss, and therapy can help her work through that. But marriage counseling is also necessary to help the 2 of you work through the realization that 2 people can love each other and not want exactly the same out of life, and more importantly, how to move forward. Unavailable where we live, unfortunately. I've proposed to find it online through video calls, but that hasn't been taken up yet. It feels like true grievance, and I give her all the space she needs when it happens. She won't look at me during these periods, so I think therapy in person, even if it would exist here, would be difficult. She needs therapy and badly. Spending whole days crying and fostering this bitterness towards you isn't good for her or the family she already has. Honestly, I wonder how much of that is genuine grief, and how much is demonstrative crying a la, see what you are doing to me, you monster, to manipulate him. If it's actually genuine, then she's probably depressive AF and needs help. Anyway, it's definitely not normal to wallow your grief for a potential child this much when you have 2 actual kids to take care of. I wonder what it's doing to them to see mommy cry for days on end. At this point, they're mostly ignoring it, and she goes upstairs to cry in the main bedroom. Children are not allowed to go up the stairs. I have also brought up the point to try and be happy and care for our 2 current children, but it gets ignored and said there is a room for a third. Last story. My 34 female husband, 30 male, said I wasn't attractive enough to cheat on him. My husband is gorgeous. Everybody says so. I consider myself pretty but unremarkable. My features aren't exactly supermodel material, but I do the best I can with what I've got. I have nice skin thanks to skincare, a decent body thanks to the gym, and so on. But compared to my husband, I might as well be a troll. Even my own mom thought my husband might be gay or hiding something sketchy because of how much more attractive he is than I am. It's the first thing people seem to notice when we're out. I've had women flirt with him right in front of me, and 2 girls I know even try to get with him behind my back. Sometimes I even question why he's with me. I'm insecure about it, but my husband has always reassured me, saying he loves me and thinks I'm beautiful, and that I shouldn't listen to other people. Yesterday changed everything. I bumped into an old boyfriend from college. We had parted on good terms, and it turns out he's doing well in his career. I'm considering changing jobs, and I'm pretty decent at what I do, so we exchanged LinkedIn information. There wasn't anything inappropriate about our conversation, and I wouldn't have had any problem if my husband had been there to hear it. As soon as I got home, my husband started an argument. He said he had read through my LinkedIn messages and was convinced that my ex was flirting with me. I told him he wasn't. My husband then started making fun of my ex's looks, saying some of the cruelest things I've ever heard him say. I told him to stop and said we could talk when he wasn't acting like this. He responded, "If that guy becomes your coworker and you cheat on me," then he scoffed and said, "You're not attractive enough to cheat on me, not enough to keep me." I was speechless. He then slammed the door to our bedroom and locked me out for the night. I ended up sleeping on the sofa. At some points, I vaguely remember him waking me up, and when I woke up, I was tucked into bed. Today, he was incredibly sweet and kissed me before leaving for work. I can still remember everything that happened, but it feels like an out-of-body experience. I have never heard him say anything like that before, ever. I feel so upset and uncomfortable. What do I even say to him? How do I just ask him what he was thinking? What possessed him to say the things he did? And if he really meant them? His mask slipped. Note how he realized it. Went and got her off the couch during the night and was all back to super sweet, kissy husband the next morning. You can only keep the facade up for so long. Agree. Always pay attention to what people say in the heat of the moment. It's what they really think and how they really feel. He felt bad for what he said, so he brought her to bed. But it doesn't change what he said. He showed his true colors when he said those things to her. I think you know deep down the answer to your question, and nothing he could say would explain away the truth. Regardless of what he has said before, he has deep-rooted feelings that he is more attractive and better than you. I could never ever be vulnerable and feel loved if my husband said that to me. He should feel like you are a catch and the best thing that ever happened to him. There are some things that just can't be unsaid. That's what I'm afraid of, because if he said what he meant, does that mean he looks down on me? That he thinks he's attractive enough to cheat on me? I feel very numb. I know I'm not as attractive as my husband, but I also have good qualities. No one is suffering by being my husband.